Alright. So were you drafted or did you enlist?
Enlist.
Okay, and then why did you join?
Because I wanted to give something back to my country and to be part of something bigger than myself.
Why did you pick the service branch that you joined?
Because they had the best looking uniforms. And I like both.
Tell me about your boot camp training experience.
Well, I was a direct commission officer, so I had a very abbreviated type of boot camp, where I just received basic military training. It wasn't too difficult and wasn't too exciting.
Okay. And then in your service for the war, what was your job or assignment?
I'm a dental officer, and I was assigned as the dental officer to the Joint Task Force at Guantanamo Bay, Cuba. When I was there, I took care of about 600 detainees, and I was also the dental officer for about 2,200 Joint Task Force personnel.
So I'm assuming you didn't see combat?
That's correct.
Okay. So could you tell us about a couple of your most memorable experiences?
Well, I guess the biggest thing at Guantanamo, the thing that impressed me the most, was how much care was being provided to the detainees. I know 2 detainees that had bypass operations. While I was there was a detainee that had a tumor. They flew in a surgery team and did surgery and chemotherapy. We provided all kinds of dental treatment, lots and lots of root canals. So I was shocked to see how much care, how much American tax dollars were being paid to take care of these people to the best of our ability. The other thing, I guess, that was the most shocking and most interesting, I think the American public perceives the detainees as being like poor dumb trash that the Taliban drug in, and actually I think 40% of them have advanced degrees, over 25% of them from American universities. I met one detainee that spoke 9 languages. His parents ran the largest clothing import company in the United States in New Jersey. And so, just like Osama bin Laden, these are not poor dumb people that have nothing better to do. They're well educated, often come from lots of money, and are very knowledgeable and very serious about what they're trying to do.
Did the prisoners there respect your treatment?
Yes, for the most part. For a lot of them were very appreciative. Lots of them respected us, and they could tell a difference. Even though we had to cover our name tapes and cover our service branches and stuff, they could tell the Navy from the Army. When I was there, the Army was providing most of the MPs and most of the security, and they would, be more aggressive or resistive towards the Army personnel, but the Navy personnel were all medical personnel at that time, and they knew the difference. They knew that we were there to try to take care of them. And then there's there's always some. One guy told me he'd find me on the internet and hunt me down and slaughter me like a sheep. But for the most part, they were respectful.
Were you awarded any medals or citations?
Well, I have the Global War on Terrorism medal and 2 Navy Achievement medals.
How'd you earn those?
Providing dental care.
How did the Cuban citizens there respond to U.S. intervention? Or did you get to interact with those people at all?
No, Guantanamo is a closed base. Except for a couple of Cubans, there's 2 or 3 80-year-old Cubans who still cross, but it's still left over from the Cold War. There's American Marines on one side of the wire, Cuban snipers on the other side of the wire, and a minefield in between. And we're not allowed to leave the base, and Cubans aren't allowed to come to the base.
So is there anything else, describing the geography of the region that you were stationed?
I was shocked, I was surprised. Guantanamo Bay is I had imagined Cuba to be like I'd seen in the movies, and to be like South Florida, and Guantanamo Bay is like Tucson by the sea. It never rains there. There's not a plant anywhere. Castro cut off the water in 1965, and the Seabees had to build a desalinization plant. So it's a really dry desert environment.
What was the geography of the area in which you were stationed, and then were there any advantages or disadvantages for the U.S.?
Well, I mean, Guantanamo Bay geographically is strategically important to the Navy, which is why the Navy has always kept it and gives us a port in the Caribbean. As a detention center, the whole reason that it's located at Guantanamo Bay is they were afraid or wanted to avoid the detainees being able to challenge their status and to have access to American courts and American society, so they're kept outside of the borders of the U.S., hopefully to keep them out of the American court system.
Was there anything unique about the region in which you were stationed?
I guess just the fact that it's an American base in a communist country is kind of unique.
How did you stay in touch with your family while you were deployed?
Primarily email and telephone calls.
Yes, you start over. Alright, so then how did you stay in touch with your family?
Primarily email. Could also use a telephone, but it was exceedingly expensive. It was like $5 a minute.
Were there any supplies that were highly valued?
Every supply is highly valued at Guantanamo. There's T-shirts, as a matter of fact, it's a big joke down there, is that it's on the barge. But most of the supplies have to come literally on a barge from the U.S., and it takes a long time and can frequently be difficult to get supplies. They have hardly any cars, and all the cars are old bombed-out cars that have been there forever that are called Gitmo Specials.
What was the morale and atmosphere like among the soldiers?
It was good. It was really good. The Army personnel that I was with were glad to be there. I think the people knew that we were doing the right thing and doing an important job, and everybody tried hard to do their best.
Do you recall any particularly humorous or unusual events?
Well, I don't know if it's particularly humorous or unusual, but I'll tell my story about Lucky. At the base in Cuba, there's all kinds of iguanas, these big, huge, rock iguanas, biggest iguanas I've ever seen in my life. And at the detention facility, everything was classified, so we weren't really supposed to talk about too many things. And I always remember I could talk about Lucky, but there was a big iguana that lived under the clinic, and he'd be out in the sun every morning when we'd come in, we'd see Lucky. And he was called Lucky because at some point in his life, his tail and his leg had been chopped off. So he was a three-legged iguana with no tail. I guess he was lucky that he wasn't dead, so that was lucky.
Do you think that the American press accurately portrays the situation to the American public?
No. I was completely shocked and completely dismayed. I guess I understood about media bias and knew that there might be some manipulation of the media, but the timing of when things went down when I was at Guantanamo, I went down there and like I said, I saw fabulous care being provided to the detainees. One of the big things I remember is that the interrogators there's a McDonald's on base, and they were always bringing ice cream from the McDonald's to the detainees. The ones who were cooperative and stuff got ice cream, and they liked ice cream. When I came home, it was right after Abu Ghraib, and some media focus had begun to be focused on the American military and their treatment of POWs or enemy combatants, whatever you like to call them, and they said we were war criminals and how terrible all these people were being treated, and I had seen exactly the opposite. I won't claim that I saw everything, But I know I saw way more than the media saw, and yet the media writes all these stories, and I saw exactly the opposite. So my belief in the media has changed completely. I think they just make up and write whatever they want to write.
While you were deployed, did you make any close friendships?
Yeah. That's always the case with the deployment, you know. When you're away from your family, you're away from your regular life, and you're all on the same team doing the same job. The guys in your unit, that becomes your family. And you have, in some ways, even closer than your family, because you have shared experiences and shared things that people from the outside wouldn't understand.
Do you continue those relationships today?
Yeah.
How long have those been lasting?
Well, ever since I've been back, which is going on 5 years now.
Did your military experience influence your thinking about war or about the military in general?
Yeah, probably. I think I still see America as a good country, and America tries to do the right thing, and the people in the military, for the most part, are good people trying to do their job to the best of their ability. Just like anywhere else, that doesn't mean there's a bad apple or there isn't somebody making a mistake. But for the most part, I think they're good people trying hard to do the right thing.
How did your service and experiences affect your life?
You're always more appreciative of what you have at home. When you're away from home and you're away from the U.S. or you're away from your family, the things that we all take for granted every day, whether that's air conditioning or a cheeseburger or seeing your family, you appreciate that a lot more when you don't have access to that. I think it's also, it was important to see and important to note how dedicated the enemy is and how much they believe in what they're doing and what their position is. I think sometimes wars are inevitable. I think there's, when two points of opinion are completely opposed and one can't coexist with the other, I think that's inevitable. I think it's sad. I wish, the human condition wasn't that way. But I think there'll always be a place for a military. I think there are people who will do us harm or try to change our way of life, and if we want to keep our way of life, we're going to have a military to protect that.
What's your best memory of your service in the military?
Any time that you're in uniform and part of a formation, when a ceremony is conducted, I think that always just makes me proud of being an American and makes me proud of being part of the team. I know I'm a dentist, okay? I'm not Rambo. I have no illusions about, winning the Second World War or doing anything like that. But I'm a very small part of a very long tradition of Americans willing to defend their country and trying to defend their families and serving in the United States Navy. When I graduated from officer training at Pensacola, they had a big formation and a parade out on the parade ground, and the Blue Angels fly over and they fire off some cannons and the band's playing music, and I think if that doesn't move you, then there's probably something wrong with you or you shouldn't be there.
What's your worst memory of this service?
Just being away from your family. I mean, that's, you always miss your kids. You feel like you miss too many things. I thought about it, and like I said, I wasn't drafted. I joined pretty late in life. I had choices. I felt it was important for my country to do what I could do, and so sometimes my children and my family have to suffer for that, or I had to miss some things. and that's just a balance that you have to try to make.
Would you recommend the military for others?
Yes.
And then is there anything else that you'd like to add that we haven't covered in there?
No, I think you did fine.
No?
Did I talk too much?
No, you did. Thank you.